If you've been in a city for a while, you might have noticed the constant hum. Sometimes the hum is quiet, other times more obvious. Everything is so busy in the city. What if there was a room where, for a moment, you could just stop? Somewhere
Relaxing,
Comfortable,
immersive, connecting,
DIY, blank.
creative.
dynamic.
So at first it was a bit disorientating. It's like, oh, this is a weird space.
So it's white.
Square space, not too big.
Padded floors.
Underfloor heating as well.
Like a white square, but there's so much more to it.
4 projectors on the roof, all pointing 4 different directions to each of the walls.
And then turning on the projections, it just totally changes the space.
360 projection room.
Have anything you wanted on the projections. The first time I saw it in use, I was like, this is amazing. There's so much potential here. There's so much you could do with this space. I always describe it as like, it's like a 360 immersive audiovisual space.
this is.
Okay, so Matt, do you think you could describe the Dream Machine to someone who's maybe not been here before, maybe not heard of it? That is it, that's the Dream Machine. Chaos.
The initial idea was to create a place where anyone from any background can find a little sanctuary in the world where you don't necessarily have to travel the world. I had the privilege of being able to travel the world and see all these cool places, go to the Amazon jungle, have all these fantastical experiences, and it really took me out of my bubble and allowed me to abstract and find out who I am, where I want to go, and to deal a lot with my trauma as well as find out about the world and everything else. So, but not everyone has that privilege. So I wanted to come back to Glasgow and create a place where anyone from any background, where with everyone from single mothers, someone on benefits in the Carlton, to anybody from any part of the world can come here and find some solace, find some abstraction, just let go of whatever madness and chaos is happening in your life for even an hour. And in that hour, you can be taken to a different world, a different environment.
The Dream Machine was made up of 3 main unique rooms: the venue, the Dream Lab, and most notably, the Dream Room. The venue was a typical nightclub room, fitting about 100 people. It had a raised stage, small backstage area, lighting system, and pretty good sound system. It was used for club nights, jamming sessions, group discussions, a wedding reception, parties, networking meetups, and many more wacky events. The Dream Lab was essentially a work area with plug points, desks, and murals made by volunteers. This was often used for workshops and games. The staff would work in here a lot when one of the other rooms was booked out. The Dream Room was the main highlight for most people. It was almost square, had 360 visuals on the walls, 8 speakers in 4 corners, creating a 360 surround sound effect. You could put anything you wanted on the walls, including images of nature, your own handwriting, abstract visuals, movies, anything you could possibly think of. It was used for everything from meditation to parties to electronic music gigs to addiction recovery groups to theater performances.
So that was the mission, which is all great in theory. In practice, it was utterly batshit crazy.
So, How did a handful of people make it?
I'm Dennis and we're in the East End of Glasgow.
So the Dream Machine was a tin-roofed garage at the beginning, which is almost unrecognisable to what it became, this beautiful sensory immersion space. The rest of the building was a vast expanse of office tiles, rubble, bits and bobs falling down here and there. Big project. Basically, pick up a tool and learn how to do something and get on with it to renovate the space. So I did a bit of volunteer recruitment, volunteer management. I did a bit of renovations, hammer drilling. That was fun.
The type of person that we were aiming for are typically the type of people who wouldn't go to a spa, who wouldn't take themselves out for a weekend just to relax, just to create, just to play. They tended to be people who were quite stressed out. It made a lot of sense to sort of come on board and help bring those ideas to life, because he's very much an ideas person and is bursting with ideas and brilliant ideas. And someone like me, where I'm very sort of strategic and think about the plan, those two things came together really nicely. Working out how we're going to promote it, how we're going to talk about it, how we're going to share what is a very physical experience in the Dream Room. How are we going to share that in our marketing? Like, how are we going to help people understand what this is?
How do I get a computer that sends a signal across 4 walls, but the 4 walls can't be mirror images of each other? They have to be separate so that I can spread one image around 4 walls, or I could mirror it all 4 walls, or I can have 4 separate images. That's what I wanted, but I had no idea how to fucking build it. It has to be short. Turns out computers, most computers don't have something that, and then I have to create a massive image in a very short distance, and then to do that, I also had to learn computing, so I had to learn all about not just the software, and it was a, shall we call it a rabbit hole? It was a space where you could have infinite learning, and we did.
Finally, the Dream Room was
And at that point we realised we needed a new team. The Dream team that stayed with us until the end.
Normally, when you're doing something in the AV world, when you go from venue to venue to venue, it's like driving a car. Like, they're all the same, they just look different and have things in different places. The Dream Machine does not fit in that analogy. It was like learning to drive like a spaceship after having driven a car. I was a duty manager and sound and lighting technician.
I was a duty manager and sound technician alongside Kira.
And I was the booking manager at the Dream Machine, being first point of contact for people that wanted to put on an event.
Taking on as a technical assistant and taking on for general maintenance around the building and things.
So I had a team of volunteers, and I also at this point studied service design and research. And really what I wanted to do with that was work with people to help improve the Dream Machine. So I made a hybrid of the two. So we were basically making services for the Dream Machine.
Doing sound lights, creating like lots of templates and other projects for other people to use while they're visiting. With any job, like in the arts, like certain things are expected of you, and then it ends up being like either less or more of one thing than you initially anticipate. But I thought that was really fun, setting up Dream Room in like many different ways, just like trying to push it as much as possible and see what is possible.
It was very open-ended, and there was so much room for suggestions, so everyone was so open to hearing new things and excited to hear about new things as well.
It's just rewarding for us in a sense, getting to see people use the space, and you did genuinely hear really nice feedback and people really appreciated the time and effort that we went into. And I think just it's quite a nice feeling knowing that you're doing your work, like my day job, but there's actually something really positive coming out of the other side of it, and you get to see the results of that. We'd have like a few sound baths during the day, but also rehearsal groups and people doing sort of mindfulness sessions.
We were part of the Science Festival.
Experimental theatre.
Puppetry.
Promo sort of company, DIY events.
Arts and Music Collective.
My own piano compositions.
Alcohol-free, substance-free events.
I'm originally from Amsterdam. I'm a neuroscientist, and my event at the Dream Machine was my own piano compositions. I played myself, so it was with projections on all the walls to get this really immersive type of experience. I made video works that corresponded to each song. With most of the songs, or pretty much all of them, kind of science inspired.
She's an incredible keyboard player actually. She had all these visuals like synced up to her keyboard. It was just a really cool mood. I play for a band called Telekinesius, and my promo sort of company, DIY events, is called Big Nephew Music Promo. We write loads of punk songs, but we try to put bands on in like interesting venues. And we've had great success so far. It's been really fun. Because we've been working with a lot of promoters from Glasgow, I just wrote down all the things that they didn't do. And I was like, right, I'm just going to do all these things. People are still coming up to me and being like, yo, that night was amazing, you know? So I was grateful for the opportunity. When you've got like sort of punk bands playing while you have the visuals, it makes it immersive and you really get into the music, and it's something incredibly unique.
Nurturing a sense of sort of togetherness between people that might not necessarily have had any contact with each other before, you know, people of different genres, and I really wanted to like bring the techno back to DIY position, and to do that by running events that were different structurally to the things that might normally be running in Glasgow. And that's partly why I picked Dream Machine as the first place to run.
I'm part of the puppet theatre company Tiny House, which I co-founded with my creative partner Phoebe Cowley. Tiny House, which stands for This Is Not Your House, we held a drop-in workshop for the puppet Curious, and we put on all the disco balls, played some 70s disco tunes, and all the puppets, we created a dance floor out of the tables, and all the puppets had a disco, which was absolutely hilarious.
We have a project called Making Nature that we performed at the Dream Machine. I'm a visual artist.
I'm a musician. We both kind of dabble. Our goal was to make an audio-visual experience, but not favouring the audio over the visuals or the visuals over the audio. I can't remember who said it, but I heard once in an interview that art is like the way of humanity to produce like flowers, like the same as a plant creating a flower. It's like humanity's version of that. We collectively create something beautiful, but it has a purpose. Like flowers have purposes, but they're also beautiful. So kind of showing how nature as it is, how we can just add to that. We don't have to be separate from it.
Hapas now is Arts and Music Collective. Yes, it's not only just us, it's also Eugene, also known as High Shifting, and Morten.
So basically our events at Dream Machine consisted of 4 elements. So one element was live music, another element was DJs, and then we had Bee Gees, obviously, because Dream Machine. I wanted to showcase some visual art as well that were not digital. So we used the room just before you enter the dream room. Just use that space to showcase some of the art and some like little installations from people around Glasgow.
And sometimes not just from Glasgow, we had some Lithuanian artists as well.
International names.
Frida organises alcohol-free, substance-free events, predominantly for people in recovery, but our events are open to everybody. One of the first alcohol-free events I attended was at the Dream Machine way back. So at the Dream Machine we held sober raves, we held comedy, and we also had a hip-hop event.
And do you know what, something to be said as well is that having a venue where the main interest isn't drinking and it's art, it's very few and far between in Glasgow. That's what Glasgow needs.
But something happened.
First moment anything happened, I think, was about 9 p.m. on Hawkmanay.
It was New Year's Eve.
It was actually with Kira.
It was a relatively quiet one. I had a few friends over at my flat and we were all just eating, having a few drinks, and I get a phone call from Linda and she's saying, "Oh, Kieran, you're going to have to get down to the Dream Machine."
I was reading this text chain and it was like watching it unfold beneath my eyes. Yeah, it transpired that a couple of people were in the building, the power went out, and upon them, going to investigate.
The rain has been coming so far sideways because of the wind that it had been going in the window and falling in a place where it doesn't usually fall, just this usual rainfall. And all the holes in the building, I think it just eventually dripped down and landed straight on the breaker. And I remember one of the tenants who reported it said it looked like a bit from hell. In the cupboard there was sparkling, there was banging, and it was glowing from behind the closed doors. They showed us the electrical fire that was at the main breaker at the back of the building, and it was completely burnt out. It was all white ash, and all the way up the wall and everything. So
absolutely no one was harmed in any way. Nobody's stuff was harmed.
I thought, oh, classic, like another thing wrong with the building, But then I was thinking, oh well, this might actually be something that is completely impossible to recover from.
Like for me anyway, I was like, do we cancel this event next week, or should we cancel events like 3 weeks from now? And you don't want to disappoint people, and you've got people emailing trying to book in. At first we did expect the place would reopen, and then
we never got power back in that building, and like I said, it's a cold, damp, dark building. Like, it needs heating for it to not be damp and cold. It needs lighting for you to be able to move around the space at all, because a lot of this building isn't, inside a window, especially in the venue spaces.
Which I do think is a shame for the area. I feel like it's a real loss of that kind of space.
We did a lot of good in those 5 or 6 years that I was there, and I'm sure a lot of good before that too.
The whole building, the ecosystem that it was put together by sheer determination and willpower, and it's just horrendously sad that it's came to an end. And it was 10 beautiful years of defiance, of turning this eyesore building into this multifunctional, beautiful space of community arts. Kudos to everybody that was involved in the later years of that building and the Dream Machine and all of the projects and all of the bits and bobs that happened inside. It'll be incredibly missed, and I'm very sad to see it go. So
it was devastating to hear about it, because to me this was kind of like, I discovered this amazing space, and it seemed to be quite a bit of community around it. So then it's like, oh yeah, there was this fire and now it's closed. It's kind of like, what? Is this it then?
I was ready to do loads of nights like that.
You can't really have that idea stolen or corrupted or taken away. That's obviously, that space as a concept is still vibrant in lots of people's minds. I don't think it'll diminish for a long time. I'm Ian Johnson. I'm also based in Glasgow. Let's do that again.
I like that though.